A problem that teachers often face is having learners who are not really motivated to learn English. How do you deal with learners who have low motivation? There are several things that you can do to try and deal with this problem. The first thing is make sure that your classes are interesting and engaging for the learners. That is, they deal with material that challenges them. The classes deal with material that is relevant to their interests. But that's just a first step in trying to motivate learners. Make sure that the classes are relevant. That is, the learners have a chance to use the language that they're learning. This is not always easy in a country where English is a foreign language, but if it is possible for the teacher to see ways in which the learners can use English outside class, such as on the internet, then it's very useful to try and make those connections to try and capture the learner's interest. Make sure that the learners are successful. Learners lose interest when things become too difficult for them. You want to make sure that learners are doing activities where they experience success. Extensive reading is a good example of this. If learners are reading books at the right level for them, they can experience the success of reading a book from the beginning to the end in a foreign language and understanding it. The people who publish graded readers are very clever about this. They make sure that the covers of graded readers look attractive, and they don't look like books written for children. They look like real books. So if a learner reads such a book and other people see them reading the book, they can look quite cool, because here they are sitting down reading a book from the beginning to the end in a foreign language, and they're not rushing off to look at a dictionary to find unknown words. So it's really important to make sure that the activities that the learners do are ones where they will be successful. Involve the learners. That doesn't mean make the learners work. It means get the learners to suggest ideas that would improve their interest and motivation in learning English. One way of doing this is to include a negotiated syllabus. A negotiated syllabus involves the teacher and the learners working together to make decisions about what should be learnt in the class. This doesn't have to apply to the whole syllabus, but some of the work during the English classes can be work that the teachers and the learners negotiate with each other. What would you like to use English for? What would you like to do? What activities should we do in class that will make it interesting for you? And the teacher then attempts to deal with these requests from the learners. Allow shy learners to contribute in their own way. People often feel embarrassed about having to perform in front of others using a foreign language. And sometimes the insistence of the teacher can reduce the learner's motivation to participate in the class. Try to make sure that shy learners have a chance to perform when they are not embarrassed by the attentions of others. Finally, be firm about it. Don't allow learners to drop out of your class. Some learners go to sleep during the class. For me, that's an insult to the teacher, and I wouldn't allow it in my classes. Teachers need to be firm about learners paying attention and participating in the class. And if they are firm and clear about this, learners will take account of this and do some work. Changing learners' motivation is a difficult thing to do. It's really changing their attitudes, and changing people's attitudes takes a multi-pronged approach. That is, you need to approach it from several angles. Whenever you need to bring about difficult change, there are three major ways in which you can do this. One way is through rules and law. That is, You make it a rule that learners have to pay attention, they have to do their homework, they have to actively participate in class. The second way of changing attitudes is to make the learners understand what they need to learn the language. The teacher should help the learners understand how language learning occurs and what needs to be done in order for the learners to become proficient in learning the language. On my website, there is a book called What Do You Need to Know to Learn a Foreign Language? If learners can read this book, it gives them useful information about how to go about language learning in a very effective and efficient way. It teaches them things such as retrieval, repetition, the importance of practice, the importance of incidental learning, the importance of large quantities of input, and so on. And learners need to understand what they need to do. So far we've looked at changing by rules and changing by understanding. The third way of bringing about change is change through involvement, and that is getting the learners to say what would help them, what they have difficulty with, what they would like to learn. These three approaches to changing people's attitudes are used in a variety of situations. And whenever you're faced with a difficult situation, such as lack of motivation or misbehavior or some other attitude problem, it's useful to think, how can I deal with this in the three ways of dealing with it through rules and law, dealing with it through understanding or reason, and dealing with it through involvement or participation?